that is the Aboriginal population. In Eunorcia today we have 6 monks, ranging in age from in their 40s up to our oldest is in his 90s. At its peak there were roughly 70 to 80 monks and lay brothers in residence, so when we do get to see the monastery, that's why we have such a large building. We at one point had 4 schools in Eunorcia, the 2 mission schools for the Aboriginal children, and the other 2 schools were the boarding schools, and they were basically for everybody else as they were fee-paying schools. So the first building we see is the Eunorcia Hostel. This opened in 1927 and was used as accommodation for the parents of the boarders when they actually came to visit their children. In the 1950s they opened a small bar, and basically from then on it ran as a hotel up until just pre-COVID. Then it ceased to be a hotel. Today is back to being a hostel, and it does functions and group bookings today. We sit on today about 600 acres of land or thereabouts. There was roughly about 20,000 acres before that, so we are actually surrounded by a farm. Because the Benedictine community is self-sufficient, the farm over the years did provide the majority of the income for Eunorcia. These days the income in some ways generates from tourism and functions and different things like that. Whoops, we'll watch the little man coming down the road. So as we come around the corner, the building you're seeing on your left-hand side, which is actually in the process of being refurbished, it was the trading post. So this used to be where you got your mail, where you could buy goods, things like that. It's actually been repurposed today as for an artist in residence. So that's what the process it's going through at the moment, and eventually it will end up with the artist in residence and also having a few art things on display, and may even provide classes. This building on the left-hand side is the Museum and Art Gallery, and this started out life in 1861 as St Joseph's for the Aboriginal girls. Here the girls were fed, clothed, housed, educated, and they were originally taught by the the Benedictine sisters of Eunorcia. The building itself was designed by a second abbot in the 1900s. As we come around the corner, the field on the left here used to be full of mission cottages, and these mission cottages were for 22 of the Aboriginal families who lived here. The little picketed fence is roughly the size of these cottages where they actually used to be. They had a well in the middle of it somewhere where they actually got their water, and sadly these days we don't actually have a proper mission cottage left to show people. But you can guest house where people can actually come and stay, and there is also on the first floor of the guest house is the monks' chapel, and that's where they do their prayers, roughly 7 services a day. What we're going to do now is hop off the bus, and we're going to make our way to the front of the monastery through the gates. So we're going to have a talk at the gates, and then we're going to make our way in and have a look at the Abbey Church. And Eunorcia's pretty well always had an abbot. To the top left-hand side you'll see, right-hand side you'll see the all-seeing eye of God, and underneath you have a swan. Excuse me. That actually represents a black swan, which is our state emblem. To the left, 3 mounds of perfection: faith, hope and charity. And after that is a long patriarchal cross. Pax means peace. This is also the Benedictine motto. Our first abbot, Salvador, actually built the original part of the monastery, and then our second abbot came along and he actually finished this off, and he brought out these wrought iron gates from England. So that's where they come from. And if you turn and look this way, you will see our Abbey Church, which has an Italian Renaissance facade out the front of it. So we're actually going to come and have a look inside the church now. So come this way and hopefully leave a something you wanted?
No, there's 2 people here.
Yeah, don't worry, mate. Keep, make sure everybody's in. And you're very welcome to take those. Yes, when we leave in now, or
Unbelievable to have something like this out here, isn't it?
Which came in 1927, and it was basically built by what was available to them here. So the timber you see could be sheer, jarrah, they use stone and mud plaster. What has changed throughout the years is the internal decor. So originally under Salado, I found it, decorated in one style, and the actual original altar was up here. Our second abbot came along and redecorated the church, and then our monks began to have issues with the interior walls deteriorating. So some of these walls have been painted, and some of them have been actually done using a technique called sgraffito, which very simply puts different coloured plaster layered on top of each other, and while it is still damp, you etch out the design. So the 12 stations of the cross that you see here, this has all been done using that technique, and this was done